Hello, everyone. Guess what came out Tuesday?
A game
Max
that I
Payne
can't
3.
afford right now.
Well, yes, Max Payne 3 as well as Diablo 3.
Are those two new downloadable episodes for Final Fantasy 13 too? You know, the ones that should have been in the game in the first place and let you play as Snow and Lightning?
No, it's Sonic 4 Episode 2.
And not
Oh,
a single fuck was given that day.
Surprising a lot of games came out Tuesday.
I forgot
Tuesday is
Diablo
usually
3 came out.
Tuesday is usually the day games come out, unless you're Nintendo. It's Sunday.
Now, I'm kind of surprised by the lack of fanfare that's been around that's surrounded the whole release of Episode 2 thing, especially given that Episode 2 kind of looks like it's sort of the game Episode 1 should have been, or at least close to it.
I have a theory about that. Episode 1's reception was very mixed, like just overall, but within the Sonic fan base, nobody really liked it. So it's just like by the time Episode 2 came out, nobody just cared. Nobody cares anymore. That's
not
just
nobody, but not enough people to really make a fuss. But
Yeah.
between the obnoxiously shortly timed demo and everything I've watched from the game, which is almost the entire episode, by the way, I have to say I'm really psyched to play Episode 2. Even if a couple of the acts look a bit on the meh side, Oil Desert Act 2 looks like they really should have just called it Dimp Zone. And I would say, from what I've seen, Sky Fortress Act 1, also known as Sky Chase 2 Electric Boogaloo, might as well have been like
I
a
hate
three
that
act. Might as well have just been a 3-act rendition of Sky Chase Zone all on its own, because it drags on for just that long.
It really does drag.
But
6 minutes long.
apart
It
from
sucks.
those two complaints, it looks like the game's really good. Well, not like classic's good, but good enough.
I only consider it a few steps
Trying
above
to make.
Episode 1.
Same here. I was fortunate enough to get the beta when it was accidentally leaked on Steam. Thanks to because I check Sonic Retro every single day, and they were talking about how the beta was accidentally leaked. So I jumped on Steam immediately after reading that, and I was able to snag it before they.
Didn't you have to actually buy the game to get that? Though?
Yeah, you had to. Yeah, you had to buy the pre-order key. So I did
Yeah.
pay full price for it, which is why they weren't so, mad about people getting the leak in the first place. Because it's not like they pirated it. You had to pay in order to get it.
Really, in this case, I think it did more good than harm, as opposed to the leaks.
If it makes you,
in Episode 1.
Well, the beta is pretty much the final game. Nothing was really changed.
Oh no.
It's just when I looked at the comments for a lot of the videos for the beta, more of the comments in this case, as opposed to Episode 1's leaks, more of the comments were along the lines of, "Oh, this looks actually quite a lot better than the first episode."
It's better, but still not great by any stretch of the imagination. It just kind of exists.
If it were longer, it would probably be better. It would probably rank quite a bit higher.
Absolutely.
But it's still got episodes. One problem of there are only 4 zones. I'm not going to count Death Egg Zone. Okay, there's that ridiculous
there's no
short
levels.
first act with
There's
the
no
halfway
levels in Death
Sonic
Egg.
boss fights, but
It's
there's
3
more
boss
level
fights.
in Death Egg than there was in Sonic 2, but that's not saying a whole lot.
It's not better than Sonic 3's Death Egg.
It's like if Sonic 2 had this kind of Death Egg, you might have time to hear that awesome level track loop a few times before you got to the boss, but that's about it. You don't really do much.
It's just run through some slow scattering rings and then 3 boss fights.
Get really, really fucking dizzy while the gravity switches every 2
I like
and a
that
half
level.
seconds. I like it. I wish they had actually designed a real level around it, though.
Yeah.
It has.
It's funny because with Death Egg Mark II, I got the biggest Sonic Advance vibes with it. I immediately thought of one of the first levels I thought of when I first saw it was I forgot the name of the
Cosmic Angel.
No, not Cosmic Angel. It was the Sonic Advance 2, the cybernetic track.
Oh,
was
Techno Base.
Techno Bass. There you go. That was one of the first things I immediately thought of. Like, even though you guys know that I'm not really big on the whole anti-gravity spiel, I really did like the whole topsy-turvy feel of Death Egg, because, it kind of makes you feel like you're inside a dome that ignores all kind of gravity whatsoever. With that said, though, bit disappointing on the end because you're really just holding right and jumping when you need to. Like Ryan said, you're pretty much just.
No,
what?
In the boss act, you have to push left to get a line
But
of
you
ring.
shut up with that fucking nitpick shit. You know what I mean?
There's no level there.
You know what? Yeah, it's more like the boss acts in Sonic CD. Really, there's a short little playable segment where you can get some power ups and rings before the boss starts. It's just a little bit longer in the case of Act 1 because there are 2 bosses.
Can I ask a question just because you guys are bigger on the classics? What is the appeal of the Death Egg? I mean, like, throughout all of the classics, we never see the Death Egg do anything. It's always just sort of there.
Well, we never gave it a chance because we're the heroes.
We never really, we sort of aborted the Death Egg straight out of the womb, and we never got a chance to see Eggman actually use it for anything. The only time Eggman's actually had a chance to use the Death Egg for anything is actually in the recent comics, where he uses it to create this white wave that engulfs the world and starts a 4-issue nostalgic miniseries for some reason. I don't really understand that. But
I like the appeal of Dr. Eggman having this space station that's the size of a moon with his face on it. And I don't know what it can do, but like in Lava Reef, its eyes like flared up and it melted the whole damn place to make it all lava-like and stuff. So I don't know what the Death Egg is capable of, but it's freaking huge.
It's big and science-y.
You know, in this case, the Death Egg Mark II does constitute a significant threat, at least because of what its power source is. I mean, you know how Eggman uses like animals to fuel his robots, and in Sonic CD he's able to use Little Planet's flowers to do the same thing. All right, this time he's using the entire Little Planet to power his Death Egg. It's just like, wow.
Overall, though, I find Little Planet's role in the entire story to be really inconsequential in terms of tying in with Sonic CD.
I know there's no story though. It's like they tried to add this thing where it's like it's kind of like Sonic CD.
It's a feeling they're saving that more for episode 3 than anything.
I thought we wasn't going to be.
That's it though. That's it because this story. That's just it, Lewis. This game's story is so lackluster. We don't even know if there's going to be an episode 3. For unlike episode 1, there is no cliffhanger. The game we just see the Death Egg power down around Little Planet, and that's it. Even if you get all the Chaos Emeralds or collect all the red rings, there's no special good ending. It just ends the same way it does if you wouldn't get all the Chaos Emeralds.
Except that it says to be continued, which is...
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It does not.
Wait, it has definitely an asset for it in there.
No, it doesn't.
It does not.
Well, I'm saying
the only plot
saying
thing
in the game data there is actually a to be continued sign.
They don't display it, so it doesn't count.
Display it at any point in the game.
Well, in the launch trailer they did say to be concluded, so they are at this point at least heavily hinting at episode 3.
Well, the to be concluded could refer to episode 2 itself.
Here's the thing about the Death Egg Mark II, though. Okay, you powered it down somehow by destroying the heart, I guess. Nice boss design, by the way. The Death Egg's heart. I see what you did there. The thing is, you haven't actually destroyed it or anything. In fact, the idea of it being built around Little Planet does present a bit of a challenge because you see, we destroyed the last few Death Eggs by blowing them both to hell and gone. But if we do that this time, won't that wreak a bit too much havoc on Little Planet?
Who cares about Little Planet?
What I want to know is, why is it called the Mark II in the first place? Isn't it the third Death Egg?
There's already...
Oh no, technically
there's already a Death Egg 2.
I don't think anyone...
Isn't it the third Death Egg?
I don't think anyone ever seriously considered Sonic the Fighter's canon. I mean,
I mean, what I was getting at is that in Sonic 2,
technically the 1 and 3 and Knuckles is the same 1 and 2. Eggman was just rebuilding it from the ground up.
It fell out of orbit. It crashed on Angel Island. Eggman repaired it and tried to take off.
Okay, yeah, I completely forgot about the whole crash on the floating island thing because I was thinking of Sonic and Knuckles with that plot element.
No, the 1 and 3 and Knuckles is the same 1 and 2.
This is the Death Egg chronology, okay? Sonic destroys Death Egg. Death Egg crashes on Angel Island. Eggman tries to take off with Death Egg again. Sonic causes it to crash on Angel Island a second time.
Stop doing that.
Do you guys see why I don't see Death Egg as some sort of threat? It's just like as soon as Eggman even thinks about using the Death Egg, it's like Sonic's like, "Lo, no."
But you know,
it's always funny too because all he does is he destroys one of Eggman's robots, which causes a chain reaction explosion to bring down the whole Death Egg.
You want to know the really pathetic thing? At the end of Sonic 3, okay, what brings down the Death Egg is Sonic defeating one of Eggman's Eggomatic bosses outside the Death Egg itself, which causes a small platform on the bottom of the Death Egg to start exploding, which somehow brings down the entire thing. I don't get it.
The weak point, clearly.
In terms of
core.
In terms of story, the only thing this episode 2 ever bothers to explain is how did Metal Sonic get off of Little Planet?
And that only if you bought episode 1.
Yeah.
Well, he actually does also explain how he got
though.
that nifty Tails rocket.
Yeah.
what it pretty much is, though, because
Eggman took him off, I think.
Episode Metal shows that Metal Sonic was pretty much still on Little Planet when it... Okay, because here's the thing. There's two things that bug me here. One is that when we begin Episode Metal, we see Metal Sonic completely, wrecked his shit in the bad future of Stardust Speedway. So, does that mean Little Planet never left the planet to begin with? Or did Sonic not get all the robot generators until Metallic Madness? I'm not exactly sure.
I think it's implying that the game assumes we're all, like, complete and total noobs and couldn't get all the time stones or something.
Or better yet, they made the model for Sonic Generations, what Bad Future looked like, and they just lazily put that back in.
Yeah,
pretty much.
It made more sense to use the good future of Stardust Speedway for that establishing cutscene. But it's kind of funny to think that when Little Planet left Earth at the end of Sonic CD, that Metal Sonic went with it. But
Eggman just forgot about him until episode 1, in which he was going through that whole. It didn't work the first time, but I'm going to revisit all these old inventions because that'll work this time somehow. And then he's thought, what about that blue robot I made back on Little Planet? What was his name? Metal Knuckles. Oh wait, I remember. Fuck, I left him behind.
Actually, what I like to think is Little Planet spontaneously reappears in front of Eggman, and he suddenly has a realization as, oh, wait.
That's where he went.
Actually, it does explain, the story does explain actually another thing about Metal Sonic, and that is why he can create fucking uber spirit bombs and throw them at you. Which is, he found a random light thing sparkling in the Lost Labyrinth Zone, looked at it and said, ooh, shiny, and absorbed it.
He found Dr. Wily's evil energy from Mega Man 8.
That actually bugs me, though, because you find that after Lost Labyrinth, and I'm thinking, ooh, cool, does that mean I get a new gameplay upgrade? And it's just like, nope. So I'm just like, well, that sucks.
Well, I mean, Metal Sonic can fly in the story. Why can't I fly?
It's only meant to give Metal Sonic some new combat capabilities.
I know. There's a lot of... I mentioned before that when it comes to putting in new characters or other characters into the Sonic game, that in addition to speed, they have to have their own gimmicks. Metal Sonic is just Sonic. There's no flight capabilities. There's no higher jump. There's, I think that was a big missed opportunity, especially what Ted was getting at here, is that we absorbed that ancient power from Lost Labyrinth. You think that would give us, a bigger boost of speed or the ability to fly at really fast speeds, but no.
Or at least the ability to turn into semi-super Metal Sonic.
Which also makes me question another thing. If Metal Sonic can fly, why the fuck does he hijack the Tails rocket in the first place?
I don't think he can fly for that long, to be honest.
That just ruins the whole appeal of going back to the episode 1 levels, is because we're playing with another Sonic clone when we wanted to fly around in Splash Hill or something, or do something different in the old episode 1 locales. I mean, yeah, the levels are kind of different, but they steal most of the same set pieces and stuff, so I was kind of hoping that Metal Sonic could at least glide or climb walls or something.
That is actually something I wish they did, like, let you play the entirety of episode 1 with the episode 2 physics and with Tails and shit. They could have done that. They could have just taken all the old layouts and just made episode Metal with all of the acts, Sonic and Tails, and you would have had a perfect lock-on game. And episode Metal could have just still been there, but they didn't do it. I think that's a missed opportunity.
It's over before it begins. It's like you play it and then you're done. And then
It's
like,
four
oh,
acts with no bosses. The only real appeal is you're replaying 4 acts from episode 1 with obnoxiously hard, or I should say obnoxiously cheap layout changes, and a few cutscenes in between.
Well, I actually didn't find episode Metal that hard. I think I died like maybe
I would say it doesn't look hard so much as dickish in the sense that it throws you right into things all the time.
Having played episode Metal after playing all of episode 2, I will say that not having those giant orange obnoxious classic Sonic "you're gonna fall into a pit" signs makes it seem a little bit more cheap, because there are bottomless pits pretty much everywhere and you don't know where any of them are.
The only act I deemed cheap in episode Metal was Mad Gear Zone, only because of a very incredibly obnoxious spike placement.
They start you off
with
surrounded by slicers.
Also, why are they attacking us? We're Metal Sonic.
Yeah, why are we attacking bad dicks?
They're jealous. They want to kill Sonic before Metal Sonic. So they think
Why
we are that guy, our chances go up.
Oh, look, it's Eggman's pet.
They stay the same.
Wait, why do we need rings then? Sonic just, if this
Metal Sonic is a poser, that's why.
going by the logic of the Sonic, well, I mean, just like if you think about it, if he's a boss character, he should just need to be hit like 5 or 8 times. Well, I'm just saying, consistency would be nice.
Well, it's not like the rings are ever brought up in story in any of the other Sonic games either. So
I'm trying to bring logic.
No, it is once in Shadow the Hedgehog. One time.
One time.
Where does he keep all those things? You know, I've never asked.
Anyway, okay, let's talk about actual episode 2 for a bit. All right, let's go through the levels. All right, Sylvania Castle.
Castlevania.
Yeah.
Okay.
I found the levels pretty good. It's a bit water heavy.
I just want to say one thing. The opening sequence for the boss fight, trollolololo.
Yeah,
Oh.
I would say time and time again, when I first saw the aquatic ruin pillars emerge from the floor, my first reaction was, "Oh, what the fuck? Like, come on, are you serious?" And then
Then hi, Poison Ivy.
Then as soon as Poison Ivy from Batman Arkham Asylum popped from behind, and I thought it was a good troll moment for Sega. They seem to be doing that a lot lately, actually.
I would say it's a fun troll moment, but the problem with that boss fight is every time you replay it, even when you're online with like playing the co-op, you have to sit through Eggman going, haha, I'm back. He flies off. The totem poles come up. The tentacles pop up. The tentacles get rid of the totem poles. It's a giant intro, and I just wish the boss fight would just start, you know?
You can probably play an entire song from Little Shop of Horrors before the boss actually starts.
I know.
I do like Act 3 of Sylvania Castle, though. I think that's one of my more favorite levels of the game. If only because it actually uses the homing attack for actual platforming rather than just Bubbles' chain.
Yeah, actually, that's a slightly recurring theme in this game. I've noticed a few admirably inventive uses of the homing attack. Nothing especially major, but they're trying to be at least somewhat inventive with it. The boss theme for Eggman.
Oh,
Why?
God damn it.
Why'd you bring that back?
I cannot believe they brought that back. I
would have been happier if they brought back the non-pinch theme from episode 1 and reorchestrated it.
Yeah, the circus theme.
They brought back the pinch theme, gave it slightly better instrumentation, and made it the only boss theme that plays during the Eggman stages, which is especially annoying because the Eggman bosses are so much longer than the ones in episode 1.
Oil Desert's boss theme. Oil Desert's boss takes like 4 minutes normally. I died like twice, so 15 minutes.
All right, you want to know something that speaks really well to how I feel about this boss theme now? All right, for the longest time, in fact, I think this might even still be true.
Of hearing
That's on a massive delay.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I'm trying to say, this is actually darkly humorous. For the longest time, the only version of the boss theme I could find on YouTube was recorded directly from Sylvania Castle Act 1, which, as we all know, or at least all of us who have played / seen that stage, has crickets playing in the background the entire time.
Yeah.
So every time I listened to that theme, I also had to listen to the crickets, and for some reason, it was just so fitting. For a while, I thought it might actually be part of the theme. The the boss itself.
It's okay. It's not terribly interesting.
I hate it. I hate the first boss of the game. I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
The boss doesn't actually do anything until you've almost killed it.
Well, the first boss, here's the thing. The boss, I find, is incredibly easy, because all you have to do is use tails, fly above them, homing attack. Use tails, fly above them, homing attack. That's what
If it started using the attacks it does toward the end from the very beginning, it might be a competent boss, but as it is, the egg wrecking ball thing at the beginning of Sonic 1 is more compelling, even if it looks more pathetic.
Yeah.
My problem with the boss of Sonic 4 Episode 2 is that it's so much of this waiting game. You're always waiting for his cockpit to be exposed, and you always have to fly up to jump into it for the later parts. And it's such a slow thing. Whereas in Episode 1, you ran in, Eggman did his little 5-second thing where he dropped his ball chain, and then the boss fight started, and you were just playing for the rest of it. You didn't have to wait for him to, hide and then pop back out, or his tentacles to come out and stab himself so that he would be exposed again. It's so slow. I think
Sonic Team was trying to answer the length problem of Episode 1 by artificially lengthening all of the bosses.
Yeah.
But I will say I do like, with exception to the cheap-ass groundbreaking attack that kills you if you don't know to jump for it, I do like the first Metal Sonic boss.
Oh, I love Metal Sonic. I won't say I love both. I like the White Park Metal Sonic boss, even if it's just for the boss theme itself.
The boss theme is much better than Eggman's, yes.
Mm-hmm. That was my favorite part of the game.
The Metal Sonic boss theme or the boss fight?
Both.
Okay.
And in White Park Act 2, hi Twinkle Park music.
And you know what? Like many of my friends have agreed, because of that Twinkle Park reference, White Park Act 2 is the best track in the game.
Wait, that was a remix?
Yeah. Well, parts of it anyway.
Wait, there's a remix of Twinkle Park, and I didn't notice that. Huh. I'll have to listen to that again.
While we're on the subject, what do you guys think of the music?
It's better and worse at the same time.
The overall reaction is louder than words.
It's better and worse. Some of the themes I do like, some of the themes I hate.
I like how
Oil Desert
Here's the problem for me.
All right, okay, let's go one at a time. Ted, you.
The problem for me with the music for Episode 2 is that, in general, the instrumentation is better. But the problem is that when I think of music, I think of melody more than the instruments. And just, aside from a few exceptions like Metal Sonic's boss theme, Sky Fortress Act 2, maybe White Park, one of the White Park themes, none of the themes are as memorable as Sonic 1's music is. I mean, Sonic 4 Episode 1's music is. I don't like really any of the music more than Sonic 1 normal, but okay, I'm rambling. Go on, next.
Who's next in line? Is it me or one of you other two?
Well, Lewis, you're going to take the longest, so Ryan.
It's not like we're sitting in a circle. We can't go clockwise.
So,
actually, my Skype window has you all lined up in a circle. So.
Oh, in what order?
Who's in the top left?
Ryan.
Ryan, then you go next.
Alright, so ultimately I found the music okay. Some tracks I like more than others, like I like Sylvania Act 3, I like White Park Act 2, Metal Sonic's theme, the Death Egg Mark II theme. So, I mean, there are some themes that I enjoy, just some of them also really suck, like Oil Desert Act 2. So ultimately,
with Disco Duck.
Yeah, so ultimately it kind of comes out as a mixed bag.
Yeah.
I would say that it's better than Episode 1. Or no, it's not better than Episode 1. I liked Episode 1's music a lot better. It's only been a day, so I can't really judge whether I'm going to be remembering these tracks later, but it's like...
The only one I know for sure I'll remember are Metal Sonic and White Park Act 2 because of Twinkle Park.
Yeah, I was going to say, I love Metal Sonic's theme, his boss theme anyway. Not sure what I feel about the Stardust Speedway remix at the Death Egg.
It's Generations mix. Just
I don't like that remix.
Different.
Well, it's just like the Generations mix is so awesome.
The thing about the Stardust Speedway track is that even in this original game, it was never 16-bit in the first place. So, it kind of falls flat on its ass simply from the concept stage.
Yeah. But I like Sylvania Castle 1. I'm sure I'll remember that for a while. But
there's no. Wait, guys, stop. I'm still on a delay, aren't I?
Yeah,
you are.
Oh.
Well, you react slowly, I think, sometimes. But anyway,
again, I need more time with the game. I need to play it a bit more because, I can't even think of what Oil Desert or Sky Fortress sounds like at all. It was all just a bunch of Sega Genesis-y, and I didn't really capture it. It didn't stay in my memory. I don't know.
There's two things with the soundtrack that just bugged the hell out of me. One, I shouldn't say two things, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to come up with more examples as I ramble on. One thing is that the soundtrack is not as memorable as any other Sonic soundtrack that I've ever listened to. I think Episode 1 had a much better soundtrack, because the thing is, when I heard Splash Hill Zone, all three incarnations for the first time, they immediately stuck to me. Because I will go on and I can memorize all of Episode 1 soundtrack easily. Ever since I first started playing it, sometimes I'll occasionally hum off Splash Hill Act 2's theme or Mad Gear Zone Act 1 for just occasionally. The thing is with Episode 2 soundtrack is that I appreciate Jun Seno trying to get close to the Mega Drive sound. I'm sorry, Genesis sound with the music and all that stuff. But I swear to God, the guy is afraid to go more than 30 seconds before having to loop the track over and over again. That's my biggest issue with the music is repetitiveness.
Definitely. All right, in my case, I'm going to be slightly contrary and say that I do prefer quite a few of Episode 2's tracks over Episode 1 in general. I like especially Sylvania Castle Act 2, Sky Fortress Act 2, definitely. I do like Oil Desert Act 1. The Metal Sonic boss, Death Egg Mark 2, those two go without saying. And I did appreciate having a halfway decent final boss theme this time, by the way.
Well, actually,
I didn't like the theme.
Which theme?
Here's the problem with
Death Egg Mark 2's boss theme.
Well, here's the problem with Death Egg Mark 2's final boss is that they play the final boss track from the beginning of the stage. So at this point, I was just under the assumption that Death Egg Mark 2 was just going to be a 3-act zone. So once we got to the Eggman hard boss, I thought that it was just a slightly harder boss than the others. And then I beat the game, and it's like, Sonic beat the final zone. And I'm just like, that's the end? This sucks.
I got to know that track intimately because I tried to get my Eggman avatar for Xbox 360, and the stipulation is, in order to get Eggman's jacket, you have to beat the final boss without getting hit. So I had to retry that level over and over and over and over.
All because you wanted Eggman's.
You want to know what the annoying thing about that is? You can't even cheese your way through with Supersonic, because to break through that fucking shield, you have to use stupid 64 roll of ineffectuality,
the super sexy 69 spin attack,
which takes you out of Supersonic every time you use it. So if you do it when you're under 50 rings, you can't go back into Supersonic mode.
Yeah.
You mean the
Although
super
I found a way where I
sexy
cheesed it
69
where I had
spin
50 rings going into the boss fight, and Eggman has all these rings surrounding him, so there were 69 I think I could pick up. So what happened was I would supersonic anytime the electrical parts happened and I was on the rings. I'd go up to where Eggman was. I'd go into a Tails copter combo, which takes off Supersonic's form, and then I would just copter into Eggman so he could fling me around and I could just go back to Supersonic for a brief second.
Because of the achievement, I think it was Golden Wave. I think it was. Yeah. It's possible to become Supersonic before any boss fight. Yeah, you just got to go out of your way to look for the rings before entering it. What I did find out was that Supersonic does deal double damage than regular Sonic.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Which makes sense, but
yeah, it does make sense, and I'm kind of glad it kind of introduced that concept because why is it still taking me 8 bounces off Eggman's cockpit to kill him with Supersonic when I could just do that with normal Sonic regularly? But
Oh yeah, an interesting thing about Supersonic. What do you guys think about him using Episode 1 control in physics?
I didn't care.
Opposed to,
Well, the thing is, he moves so much faster and jumps so much higher anyway. I don't care.
Yeah,
because
because
he can pick up speed anytime he wants.
Yeah, whenever I'm supersonic, I only care about holding right and jumping through everything. I can care less about the control.
The thing about Supersonic is he was in episode 1. I've said this before. The craptacular physics in that game actually did. The thing about I'm going to be contrary once again, because I said this when episode 1 came out, is that the craptacular physics actually made Supersonic easier to handle than he used to be when it came to precise platforming.
Yeah, because he stopped in midair.
So I'm not going to complain over much about that.
No,
and obviously, it doesn't matter whether or not he automatically unrolls from ball form when he launches off a loop if he's invincible anyway. So I'm not sure about that, but it's one of the points where it doesn't really make a difference.
I'm probably going to start a big discussion, but like, am I crazy where I didn't really think the physics were that much better? I mean,
no, they're not that much better, but at least they're trying to have some level of momentum.
Here's the thing. They're not. Yeah, you're right. They're not that much better, but at the same time, it doesn't feel blatantly wrong.
Yeah.
Which is really the main point. I mean,
I know when I curve down a hill this time, he actually goes faster. Like I'd be in a swap match with somebody, and we'd both be running down the hill, and I would curl, he wouldn't curl, he'd be running, and I just like barrel right past him. So I liked that. But it's like I was still air dashing to get speed. I was still hitting the springs the same way I did
it's
in episode
not perfect,
1.
but at least there's some level of competency and
understanding
of how physics work.
I've had this argument with so many people over episode 1 in particular, where, and the real problem with this debate is that people won't give me more than 30 seconds to make my point before labeling me a whiner about it, and saying that I won't be satisfied unless they make a perfect one-to-one recreation of the classic games, which is not what I'm talking about.
Advance 1 wasn't a perfect recreation, but it was close enough.
The thing is, okay, Sonic 4 Episode 2 feels right, even though it's technically not spot on. Sonic Generations feels right, even though it's technically not spot on. All right, that's fine. It works as long as it doesn't feel like it's completely shitting on all the laws of physics all at the same time. Episode 1 had no physics.
Actually, I'm going to disagree with you guys here. I'm going to be completely here and say that I don't like Episode 2's control. Here's my problem with it. Episode 2 fixes some things, like, there's momentum when you jump, and you roll down a hill faster, yada, yada, yada. I get that. But the problem is that the control in general just feels very clunky, to the point where it's in this uncanny valley place for me, where it's almost something that I'm familiar with, but it's different enough that it constantly nags at me, and I'm constantly aware of the differences, to the point where it actually hampers my enjoyment of the entire game.
There's one thing I think that the biggest problem here, though, is yes, the control is, to me anyway, to me the control is improved over Episode 1, yes, but the level design is still Episode 1. Dimps, if you could say. Sure, you have momentum now when you jump, and you actually build a bit of speed when you roll down hills. Not to the extent of the classics, but it's still better than nothing. And Sonic's spin speed is actually relative to how fast he's running now, instead of having that same speed in Episode 1. Thing is, though, every time you attempt to use physics, quote-unquote, to go down a slope or climb up something vertical, there's always a speed booster or spring to get you up there for you. Yes. Or a homing attack chain, or...
I have a question. Why do we need spring chains to go downward?
Because
that's just because it looks cooler, I think.
No, that's just because dimps.
Because dimps.
It does? I was unaware of this.
Okay, how about this? They think it looks cooler. Whether or not it actually looks cooler is subjective.
They really loved Radical Highway.
Yeah.
We were at one point we were supposed to be going through the levels, but at some point that got lost. So, White Park Zone.
I liked all of White Park except Act 3.
Act
Fuck
3
those seals.
Sucks.
Act 3 is
Fuck
pretty
those.
bad.
Okay, question.
I like
I
all
haven't
of White
played this
Park
game.
except the last third of it.
I haven't. I didn't play. I haven't played through this as much as others. But can you break those ice blocks once
Not
the
that I can
seals
tell.
come?
No,
No,
you can't.
Not even with like the rolling combo.
No.
you have to kill the seal before he causes it, or else it happens, and then there's nothing
Okay,
you can
well,
do.
because there's a section right at the end of the game, right at the end of the level, where if you aren't exactly perfect, you can lock yourself out of beating the stage, and I think
Yeah.
that's just not fair.
That's not
Really?
good. That's not good
Design.
game design.
That's terrible.
Oh
it's,
wow!
it's the very last part where you have to swim really fast through the middle of them. If
oh
you don't get
yeah.
through fast enough, it blocks your path and you can't get out.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it's just like this. Yeah, it's just like if you don't kill all the seals in your way, you will get stuck and you will drown, and there's no way to get through. So
Here's a
it's just,
question.
it's not.
Here's
I
a
hate that part
question:
of the
if you
stage.
backtrack far enough, can you like
No.
scroll spawn them out of existence?
No.
I usually drown or hit the spikes too many times before then.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Act 1 and 2 are really good, though. I really like Act 2.
I love Act.
I'm surprised it took them so long to do a pure roller coaster themed level.
You want to know what I like about White Park Zone? Winter Zone. It's got Christmas trees in the background and everything. If I didn't know any better, I would say they deliberately ripped off a scrapped zone from Sonic 2. Unfortunately, I know better, and I can say it's probably just pure coincidence, and that they weren't trying to be cool and make a nod to the geeks at Sonic Retro or something. They just did it by accident. But even so,
I mean, Act 1 and 2 are really good, and I really like the boss. Just
I
Act
think
3 is so bad.
Well, one
My
thing
biggest-
I like. Well, one thing.
Let John
My-
go, Ted.
I'm sorry.
biggest,
This is my delay.
I know, I can't help it, but to me, I don't think White Park has enough going for it to be that good. I'm not really that big of a fan of White Park, to be perfectly honest. One, because, yeah, it's certainly white, and there's a carnival in the background, but there's not. I think it needed more ice and carnival games.
it's certainly
I was
white.
kinda-
Yes, it's
I
very
was kinda
Caucasian.
I was kind of hoping for a mix of Ice Cap and Carnival Night Zone, because there are these sections where Sonic and Tails get on a snowboard for like 2 seconds before they lose control and
Really?
slide down. They could have done a little more with that to extend upon it. I would have liked a few more bumpers here to give a more Carnival Night Zone, just to give it its own identity, because it looks like they were afraid to expand upon it.
Actually, it does on that point, it does actually feel like it's trying to have its own identity rather than ripping off another stage's identity. I mean, apart from the 2 or 3 seconds you spend on a snowboard, is it ever really copying another zone's gimmicks apart from being another snow level?
Not
Well,
really.
that's just one thing I like about White Park. Aesthetically about White Park and Oil Desert. I don't like Oil Desert at all, but we'll get to that in a minute. But just like aesthetically, White Park and Oil Desert are completely original. Well, not completely, but for at least when compared to Episode 1, they're original aesthetic ideas. So it's nice to see something that isn't a blatant copy paste from a classic Sonic game.
What I was gonna get into was I'm not asking for White Park to be Ice Cap Zone with Carnival Night gimmicks. I'm not asking White Park to be Carnival Night Zone with Ice Cap gimmicks. I want similar gimmicks from those stages. Obviously given from a different perspective or a different touch. But because again, one of my other problems that I have with this game is that so you blatantly reuse level themes from episode 1. And you said you're not going to do that so much this time, but you did it anyway. Because you're not going to tell me that Sylvania Castle is not Aquatic Grove with Marble Garden. You're not going to tell me that Oil Desert is not Oil Ocean Zone.
Well,
It's Oil Ocean Zone. Replace the sand with oil, and it's the exact same fucking zone. And you're not going to tell me that Sky Fortress is not Wing Fortress Zone. I'm sorry, you're not going to. You're never going to convince me of that.
well, actually, no. They were.
Well, Sky Fortress is Wing Fortress.
They
mostly
were
that time.
billing that as the game's big rehash zone, actually, before the game was released. So,
Well, I didn't want any rehash zones. I wanted something original.
hey, Sky Fortress Acts 2 and 3 are the best part of the game, dude.
Well, I know. I mean, that's the thing. I love Sky Fortress Act 2. It's my favorite level design level.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Ted doesn't know where
But
he
it's
is
just
anymore.
aesthetically, it pisses me the fuck off.
Ted, your
Alright.
home internet sucks.
Okay. Yeah, it does.
I want to talk about Oil Desert. All right.
But can I
Probably
just
my
say about
least
White
favorite
Park?
zone in the game. Oh, what do you have to say
Wait,
about White Park?
come on, what do you say?
I like the first two acts. Yeah, I was gonna say I also don't like the third act because it kind of has to do with a lot of the team up gimmick. There's parts where the team up gimmick I really like in White Park Act 1, I love going into the ball and going through the snow, and like if you uncurl in the snow, it crushes you and you die, but like you keep going through the snow and barreling through and jumping when you need to jump, and that was kind of fun. And I like the polar bears you hit 3 times and they die, but when it comes to 3, it's like I just don't like swimming around with the team up combination because it's like I don't know. I just hate the delay it takes where, like, it doesn't happen instantaneously. Like, you jump, you push the attack button, then Tails and Sonic get together, they do the little spin, then they get into the form, and you're always switching to that form so many times that the flow of the level just didn't feel right to me, and I didn't really like playing it. But
Actually,
White Park is my favorite zone of the 5, honestly.
I
Aside
think,
from level 3.
I think one of the biggest missed. I know before we get into Oil Desert here, one of the biggest missed opportunities to showcase that you guys can do physics right in terms of how Sonic handles was White Park Act 2. It's a roller coaster theme level. You could have demonstrated easily how much you could have tweaked the rolling here, but you put spring and speed boosters everywhere anyway. It's. Yeah. Come on, a roller coaster theme level where like Sonic is climbing up to the very top of this hill, and you like go into your ball form and start rolling down incredibly fast, going through loops and corkscrews and all that kind of stuff. That would have been amazing, but no.
Could have been the new Starlight Zone, really.
Well, actually, that's brings me to just a more general complaint about Sonic 4 Episode 2 is that whenever Sonic goes fast, it seems like it's very automated sections where you just hold right and there's loops and hills and stuff and there's nothing really in your way. And everything else seems very slow and deliberate. And there's not a lot of the fast-paced platforming that you see in Sonic 2 or 3 and Knuckles. It's very... It's either it feels to me like you're either going 5 miles an hour or 500. There's no in between, ever.
Yeah.
Random.
That was in well, not all of the classics, but in the latter 2 classics, a good majority of the platforming sections were areas where the speed was entirely dictated by your level of skill. Whereas in both Sonic 4 episodes, to be honest, the speed is more determined by whether or not there's a speed booster and a nice open tract of land for you to run through at any given time. So if you're actually platforming, it's usually designed in such a way as to force you to stop, slow down, and platform meticulously, rather than platform as fast as your skills allow you to. Which kind of kills the point of Sonic platforming, to be honest.
On the Oil Desert.
Oil Desert.
Least favorite zone in the game.
Rip-off zone.
1.
I'm going to be slightly contrary on this point to say that the only part of Oil Desert that I don't honestly like is Act 2, which is so ridiculous about that Dimps-tastic speed boost around impossibly round walls and shit, as in like Sonic Rush and shit. I know this kind of thing is technically possible in classic level in classic physics and shit, as demonstrated by quite a few fan hacks actually. But it looks a bit ridiculous when you see it in action for such extended periods of time, because if we were running by real world physics, those sort of rounded walls would just throw you off no matter how fast you're going, right? So, yeah, suspension of disbelief failing.
I just found the levels incredibly dull and uninteresting.
Oil Desert Act 1 is like this. Okay, the level itself was fine until like the very end. Right before the signpost, they have this moment where you have to team up with Tails to fly through this part, and the sandstorms are supposed to push you along the way, and you're not supposed to push the button too much because it's all bottomless pit below you.
Of course it is.
And it's all really, but it's really hard to judge when Tails is going to get tired out in this game, because sometimes you can like push it like 2 times and he'll tire out really fast, and other times you can mash it a few times and he'll still be in the air for just a little bit. So I'm kind of worried about getting Tails tired, but also I'm dodging sandstorms, or not dodging sandstorms. I'm dodging the fire enemies. who are shooting fire everywhere. And when they hit you, you can't recover from that. They hit you, you fall in the pit, you die. And there's no land anywhere. And what happened was, the first time I played this, I died like 10 times on that level because I was having real trouble navigating past those guys. I could practice that. I could see that being my problem. But then I did a co-op game this morning, actually. Someone was playing as Tails. I was playing as Sonic. We got to the desert level. And he was Tails, and he just couldn't play the game worth shit. And there was nothing I could do about it.
This sounds exactly like me and Ryan's co-op playthrough that unfortunately was lost in the recording process. But me and Ryan would go on and tell you how much of a bitch Oil Desert gave us and Sky Chase in terms of the Tails flying segments. Yeah. It really is bullshit, and honestly, it just
doesn't make any sense because getting into co-op here, when you're playing as Tails alone, he can fly like he does in Sonic 3. He can fly for quite a while. The instant he picks up Sonic, I can only carry him for 2 pull-ups.
That actually makes sense.
Well, it makes sense,
Sonic's
but then
he
can fly just fine with Sonic in Sonic 3.
Well, Sonic's got to weigh something.
And don't design levels around him flying if he's going to tire out immediately.
Technically, Ted, he should weigh less now than he did in the classic game, so shouldn't Tails be able to carry him longer?
Well, no, because
those
spikes have to be really heavy.
Okay, the spikes make up the weight and then some, is that it?
Yes.
It's just that it's stupidly designed because, like Jamie said, I'm never quite sure how long Tails is going to stay up, and it's designed around the flying thing, but it's death underneath, so you're giving you very, very limited flight capabilities and expect you to do it perfectly the first time.
It wouldn't be a Dimps designed level if there weren't some big-ass annoying bottomless pit at the very end, would it?
Well, actually, my least favorite level in Oil Desert was Act 3, because you've got those Kirby 64 sand rooms all over the place, and then you've got the Mega Man 6 oil lakes all over the place, and I'm just thinking, okay,
look, the oil level has some actual oil in it, at last.
How dare you?
I love the subtitle for that stage, by the way, A Crude Trap. Yeah, get it? Yeah, get it? All in all, though, Oil Desert.
I was right.
Very annoying looking stage. Each act has at least one big fuck you moment to it, or one big fuck you aspect, I should say.
Has anybody tried doing Act 2 while starting off, like in the Tails Sonic ball form? Because I guarantee you, Act 2 is so freaking easy once you're in that ball form, because all you do is you hold forward and you push jump a few times, and it's like they can go through all these breakable walls. None of the sand snake things that pop out of the sand can damage you. You don't fall or sink in the sand. So it's like nothing was damaging
never
me.
Hurt me. Those sandworms have never touched me once.
Okay.
And I've had this game since late April.
How about that Tetris boss?
I love that boss, Oil Desert.
I like the idea. It just goes on too long.
You don't want hearing the boss, the pinch theme for 5 minutes. I'm sorry. Especially, it's worst boss in the game. I hate
bosses that take that long to kill in a Sonic game would be bearable if they had a decent boss theme to go with them. But they kind of ruined that. They kind of ruined that by bringing back the Sonic 4 Episode 1 pinch theme and not adding enough to it to make it worth listening to. I mean, it's good. You improve the synth a bit, but sure.
If they brought it back as the pinch theme, I wouldn't really have a problem with it. But there's no real boss theme. And I mean, I understand that there were complaints about Eggman's crowd.
Ted, find somewhere else to sit.
Carnival Zone boss theme last time, but just compose a new boss theme.
3, 2, 1.
I don't really have anywhere else to sit.
Suggestion. When the partnership funds start rolling in, I recommend you invest in a nice, long, uber long Ethernet cable. Yes. And just run it through the walls or something, so you don't have to go wireless anymore.
I'll think about it.
Anyway.
I love the idea of the boss fight, though. I love the idea that Eggman scrambles this giant Mechazord, Truckosaurus, scrap metal robot out of nowhere.
That's where I'm gonna have to interject because
he's Alden from Infamous. Next.
No, what I'm getting at here is that he conjures up this humongous mecha from scrap metal from all over the stage, but he uses it to flail his arms and legs wildly to slam against the wall instead of attacking Sonic and Tails directly.
Right?
Yeah, major design flaw, okay? There are no windows in that dome. He has to open it up and expose himself to see anything.
Anyone find the hit detection weird on that boss, too?
Yeah, very.
Sometimes I would jump for him and I'd hit him, no problem. Other times, his dome would be exposed. I jump at him, I'd pass him, and nothing would hit. And I'd be like, what the hell?
No, because there are certain attack animations that he has that you have to wait until he completes in order for you to start hitting him again.
That's not classic Sonic to me. So,
it's a major 2.5D perspective fail is all it is.
Flying a plane for 6 minutes.
It can be shorter if you manage to destroy Metal Sonic's plane by hitting enough cannonballs back at him.
You can thank me for telling you about that.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Really? You're supposed to hit those? I would never have guessed.
Yeah, when me and Ryan were doing the co-op run, he enlightened me that you can hit the cannonballs back at Metal Sonic when he launches them at you. But
that was after you recorded the main playthrough.
Yes.
So we're going to have to sit through it.
No. I actually do it during the main playthrough, actually. I thought you were talking about the co-op run. No.
Well, how much time does that save?
About a minute.
Okay, well then it's still about 3 minutes longer than it needs to be.
Hey, it saves a minute.
Yeah, but I'm just
still a giant level.
I hate Sky Chase in Sonic 2, and it's just like this is like a parody of Sky Chase, and just like showing how tedious the level originally was. This is just even worse. Fuck Sky Fortress Act 1.
The only part I don't like about Sky Chase, other than its length, is there's this point right before the end where you have to take out Metal Sonic, and it's like Tails drops you off on this platform, and then you have to navigate through all these turtle machines to get to the next piece of land where the plane comes back.
What's stopping Tails from just going around it?
But I don't know if it's just the homing attack being wonky, or sometimes I would jump for them and the homing attack thing wouldn't pop up, and I'd just air dash and hit the turtle and then fall to my death. And I don't know, that platforming section was kind of awkward to me. But
yeah. I agree, because I've lost many lives there, actually, as we'll be seeing in our playthrough, actually, when we eventually get to it. For that section, I just recommend going about it old-fashioned. This is really a noxious car alarm going off behind me. I don't know if you guys could hear that. I recommend just going by it the old-fashioned way. Don't use the homing attack. Just bounce off them.
What did I miss?
We're still talking
car alarm.
We're still talking about Act 1, the Sky Fortress.
Oh, really? Did you hate it that much?
Yes.
Yes.
It's boring.
Nothing happens.
Well, here's the thing, okay? They I won't say improved, but, messed with the Sky Chase formula well enough that I can appreciate having a stage like that in this game. The problem is they went overboard with it. They got so full of themselves with this new rendition of Sky Chase that they overestimated its value to the game and, put too much of it in. Which sort of spoils it.
I don't think any Sonic level should be 6 minutes long at your best. Okay, if
6 minutes of auto scrolling, you can't even make it shorter.
It's just parts where it's just Metal Sonic in the background just doing things. He's not doing anything. He's not shooting at you. He's just kind of flying or moving his hands and stuff. And it's again, one of my biggest problems with Episode 2 over Episode 1, and the reason I kind of like Episode 1 a little bit better, I'm not saying 2 is better than 1, but there's just this thing about, it's always slow because, the boss is doing something, he's pulling out tentacles, or the boss is turning into a giant mecha monster, or Metal Sonic's in the background and he's screaming at you or something. It's just, there's so many slow moments of this game, and I just wish the flow was so much better,
I'm going to say this right now. I wasn't a huge fan of Episode 1. But I kind of found it boring. But I actually think that Episode 2 overall is worse.
Episode 2 actively made me angry. No, very few games actively make me angry. And that actually is best displayed with the special stages. Those.
Really?
Fuck the special stages.
We'll get to the special stages after we go through the rest of the stages.
Yeah, I think because I'm pretty sure we all have our say on that matter.
Well, except for me, I've only watched them and I haven't played.
Well,
them,
that's good enough. Goddammit.
They're hell.
Well, watching them, they look pretty good, but maybe
No,
it's
they're done in one take.
We'll get to them.
Because when you see Special Stage 7 on a YouTube video and it's done in 1 minute, it looks simple. But, Sky Fortress 2 and 3?
The good Sky Fortress level now? I love those levels. They're the only salvageable thing about
Loopy-loos.
Yeah, they bring back the loopy-loos.
I like Sky Fortress Act. I actually like Sky Fortress Act 2 more than Act 3, just because it had a few more gimmicks that I liked, like the running on the wall. I think was fun. The level design, it actually complements speed as opposed to stop, jump, 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 jump. Okay, now you can run sort of platform.
Mm-hmm.
It also,
I just think it's designed. I think best design level in the game. In my opinion.
Also awards your curiosity. I gotta say, there are times where because the entire game itself is plastered with all these. You should use the tails combo here, or you should use the rolling attack here. There are not many of those in Sky Fortress Zone, and there are times where you think you want to. Let's see what happens if I use tails to fly up here, and oh, look at that! There's another pathway up here that the game didn't feel like telling me about, and look at that! I just skipped like 3 minutes of the level just by being curious. And to me, it's that philosophy right there that reminds me of the classics, and I think that's why the later half of Sky Fortress really stands out. And I think that's why a lot of reasons why people enjoy those levels to a degree.
I like the levels.
That's all I got to say about that.
I like the levels. I didn't really find anything objectionable to them. I mean, I would say that maybe once or twice in level 3 I got crushed by blocks that I wanted to see coming first, but I guess whatever.
My only problem with Act 3 is that it overuses those Death Egg Zone, loopy-loo, weirdo auto things. Which are... go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm just going to say, level design, Act 1 not included, I think that Sky Fortress has the best designed levels in the game, but I said this before, the fact that it's just a blatant no excuses rehash level, that still pisses me off, but level design-wise, it's one of my favorite zones.
Flying boss.
Oh god, no. That boss looks obnoxious.
Well, it's better than the Eggman fights, but not by much.
I like that boss, actually.
It's alright.
It's like Metal Sonic. Me
and John had the hardest time with that in co-op.
Oh, I had to ask about the co-op in Sky Chase Act 1, because if Sonic falls off the plane, game over. You have to restart, well, not the level, but you have to restart from the checkpoint. How was that, co-op-wise?
I can't...
Well, because Tails and Sonic are separate, so... It's best for Sonic just to not do it.
In the plane.
One character is controlling the plane, one character is controlling Sonic, and that always ends in fucking disaster.
It's in Sonic's best interest just to not do anything the entire level.
Yeah.
That sounds even more boring than playing the level in single player.
It is.
Hey, playing the tornado sections in co-op is like playing Sky Chase Zone, except with real-life logic behind it, okay? Maybe it's not a good idea to stand on the top of the airplane.
Sonic has to jump off to hit the boss.
I can see that being annoying, yeah.
So the player still has to...
Got it.
My problem with the boss is this. Why is Metal Sonic flying an airplane?
Because
that's
it's fast.
why Sonic Drift sucks.
Well, no, there's a reason. He probably can move faster in the giant airplane than he can by himself.
Really? He doesn't look like he's moving faster. So on that note, where did the Tornado's nifty rocket booster go?
Well, I don't think Tails was shot enough with a laser yet. So
he had it in Sonic 3.
Well,
Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
This is Sonic 4.
Well, no, I want to know where those Tails rockets that are conveniently placed in Splash Hill are, because, I mean, if we had a few of those we could launch at the Metal Sonic ship, that would be pretty nice. Just like, here, take conveniently placed rockets to the face, motherfucker.
Metal Sonic stole the last one.
Aww.
At least they gave a decent explanation as to how they got in space this time, other than pulling a rocket out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I like those cutscene parts too, though. I love how Sega Genesis-y they are. You know, there's no dialogue; it's just the characters doing their wacky expressions, and they chase Eggman to the escape pod. He blasts off, and then they have that awesome shot of the Death Egg too.
They could be a lot better though. Like, for example, they could be
what it is though.
They could be more expressive, like say the ones in Rocket Knight HD.
So never mind. You go.
Yeah. So how about that Metal Sonic race?
I just used Metal Sonic in one instantly.
What Metal Sonic race?
Super Sonic for the win.
Super Sexy 69 attack. Go.
The Metal Sonic race in this game is really quite pathetic. It's like most anticlimactic Metal Sonic encounter ever, especially since it's the third encounter, but Metal Sonic is just racing you rather than trying to actively kill you like he was the first two times. And he's not using any of those nifty superpowers, despite the fact that 2 seconds earlier he was chucking spirit bombs at you. So it's like, what? Did his sense of fair play suddenly reawaken at the end of the game?
It's just we just had a really great Metal Sonic fight in Generations with just like it was probably one of the better boss fights in the game. Really fun, the great music track. You get to the Metal Sonic boss fight in this game with a music track that I think personally is a lot less enjoyable than the Generations mix. He doesn't really do anything.
He does get his faceplate smashed off like he did in Sonic CD at the end.
Super Sonic, where you can just spam and win the thing without trying. I just found it incredibly underwhelming. Why? Why?
You know what I would have done?
I don't have any control over this. Sorry.
Do you know what you do? You do the Super Sexy 69 spin attack. You always go faster than him, and you always barrel through the obstacles.
Or you could use Super Sonic. Just saying.
Because you're a cheating bastard.
I earned those fucking chaos.
But other than that, you're invincible anyway when you're doing the Super 69 attack.
Yeah.
I earned those goddamn Chaos Emeralds. I'm going to use Super Sonic wherever the hell I want.
And then
you know what I would have done? I would have switched the race to be like the first Metal Sonic encounter in White Park, and I would have had the White Park boss fight be the Death Egg fight, because I really loved the White Park fight, because it was just as fun, if not more fun, than the Generations fight, I thought. And I would have preferred that being like the climactic duel with Metal Sonic, like where you actually had to jump into him and stuff. Whereas, the race could have been like his first retry, and once the retry failed, he realized, okay, I'm not going to race him anymore. Now I'm just going to straight up kill him. You know?
I'm not going to fall for that a third time.
So I would have switched those boss fights, honestly. I would have just been like...
Alright, what about the final boss, Death Egg's Hard? What do y'all think?
Probably one of the hardest final bosses in a 2D Sonic game.
I'll give it...
Really?
I'll give it...
Well, to me...
I'll give it...
It wasn't too hard.
It's not that it's hard. It's not that it's easy to die.
It's
there's
just really
way too much shit being thrown at you.
I found it easier than the Sonic 4 Episode 1 boss, actually.
What? Really?
Yeah,
no,
I did too.
No, I think this is a little harder. Because I remember,
it's easy to stay alive. There's just so much shit thrown at you. It's hard to maneuver.
Here's the thing, okay? Even in Episode 1's boss, even though there's no set pattern to the attacks, eventually you learn all of the tells that let you know what Eggman is planning to do next, so you can adjust, and after a while it becomes second nature to just avoid getting hit at all. Alright, the Death Egg Heart boss, especially during the later stages of the boss when the electric floor is everywhere, it's like, even if you know the best way to approach the situation, it's not necessarily easy to pull it off.
I just find it's very easy to get to Eggman and do what you need to do, because even if you don't have Super Sonic, you have Tails there where you can just fly through everything.
Yeah, but that's why the later parts of the fight, he has almost all of them electrified, which Tails can't fly for very long, so what's the point?
well, it's just like if you plan. It's just like if you think a little bit and you don't rush a whole lot. I find that the boss gives you a lot more leeway than the Sonic 4 Episode 1 boss did. I just find it a lot.
I think the Episode 1 boss gives you much more leeway.
Well, I also find it a lot more disappointing as a final boss. Like I said earlier, I didn't know it was the final boss when I fought it.
It wasn't Death Egg Robot, so it wasn't disappointing to me. It was a new boss. It was something different. I was happy with it.
I was going to say, I was going to give it bonus points for being at least original.
Well, no, I think what I mean is just that it's not disappointing in that it's an original boss. I think it's disappointing to me because I was fighting the boss and I couldn't tell that it was supposed to be the final boss. Is I guess what
I think part of that is the mind trick of it being an egomatic boss. It's actually the only It's actually the only plain Jane boss where you always see Eggman out in the egomatic. He drops in, he attaches to the boss, and then you fight him, and he doesn't have a massive dome or anything huge that covers him, like in the last two Eggman bosses in the game. It looks more in line with a normal boss than the normal bosses do, and that sort of has a psychological effect on the player where you think this is a normal boss, it's not the final boss. Kind of like what I thought of the Sonic CD final boss before I realized it was the final boss, now that I think about it. So yeah,
I think it needed. I think the biggest problem with it is that it's like I think Ted was getting at, or Ryan, whatever one you said it was. It's a bit of an anticlimax. I was waiting for like a second phase to the fight. Instead, the more damage you do to him, that he does this pointless little sequence where he showcases off his laser show and causes the
3D.
Yeah, like look, we can do it. Yes, we can. And then some like platform segments fall off, but that's it. I was expecting maybe a second half to the fight, or maybe like a supersonic section to the fight, but no, that's pretty much it.
And this is supposed to be like the end.
It needed
of
more
Sonic
fanfare,
4.
I think. Speaking of the end, the ending's ripped straight out of Adventure 2. It's the same exact ending.
No, it's
what?
not.
No, it's not.
Yeah, they leave the thing, and then you see the giant space station floating in the background with the Earth as the backdrop.
He's talking about the fact that the credits roll while you see the Death Egg in the background.
Oh well.
Oh,
That's not much.
It's exactly the same.
no, it's not.
No, it's not. And that, I mean, I see what you're trying to get at, but I'm not really seeing it, because when I think of Adventure 2's ending, I'm thinking more of the camera panning out from the space station and hearing them talking and all. In the aftermath, whereas this is more, you're flying an escape pod and you see the Death Egg powered down, but it's still there, and it's kind of like a foreboding. This is going to come back to bite you in your spiky blue ass in the next episode.
I beat the game without the Chaos Emeralds the first time because Special Stage 7, but we'll get to that later. But it's like I beat the game without the Chaos Emeralds the first time. They took off. The Death Egg was still there, and then the Eggman Try Again sign came up. So I was like, okay, so that was a bad ending. I'll see what happens to the Death Egg after I get the Chaos Emeralds. So I get the Chaos Emeralds. I even got the power rings, like the red rings.
Which do nothing, by the way.
The red rings do fucking nothing.
They're an achievement, but so I go back to the boss. I beat him, and the ending was pretty much the same, except for Try Again being gone. Like the Death Egg was still there.
Why are they there then?
It's a double edged. There was a double-edged sword to this. For one thing, again, because like you, I beaten the game at first without all the Chaos Emeralds. So I got the get all the Chaos Emeralds sign. I was like, okay, I was expecting that. So I got all the Chaos Emeralds, and
nothing happened.
There was two things. One, I was like, okay, all right, I'm about to see what could be another ending. If that goddamn Death Egg falls down and lands on Angel Island, I'm gonna be so fucking pissed. Because that's going to be the premise for episode 3.
Dude,
but on the other hand,
that would be a great idea. Actually,
it would be an awesome idea, because it would mean Little Planet just flattened Angel Island.
It would be the same exact thing again.
No, it would be a planet crashed into an island, dude.
It's Little Planet. It's not that big.
It's got to be big. Well, here's the thing. It's got to have enough mass to have its own gravity.
It's got to be at least as big as Angel Island itself, which means the Death Egg is a lot bigger this time too.
He chained it to a mountain last game. It can reach the Earth, no problem.
I'm just saying, in order for it to be a planet and have stuff living on it, it's got to have a lot of mass in there. So that would pretty much flatten anything.
So instead, we get no ending. Nothing changes. The Death Egg is still flying up. It's kind of like actually, what I was reminded of was the bad ending to Crash Bandicoot 2 when you fail to get all the gems.
Yeah,
you fail to get all the gems, and Coco wonders, I wonder what happened with Cortex spaceship. It's still up there. And
then you see during the credits, it's just sort of floating there. Except this time, you don't have a completionist ending where you blow the thing to hell. So it's kind of anticlimactic.
You want that satisfaction of saving Little Planet, and you're not really sure if Little Planet's saved or not, but you're not really sure if there's going to be an episode 3, because Sega, they've been kind of iffy on whether there's going to be an episode 3, so I'm like, is there an ending, or...
Sonic was running on the false assumption that, like the previous Death Egg, defeating the final boss would completely destroy the thing and cause it to crash or blow up. But, see, the thing is, that was Eggman's plan all along. Get it to defeat the final boss so that he leaves the Death Egg voluntarily.
Or, here's the thing. Or, he could have just kept all of the electric things on his final boss heart thing on the entire time. I mean, that's just some dumb boss logic, is that if...
That would be unfair. Alright, thank you so all there is to say about that particular issue. What about the special stages? You guys have better perspective on the special stages than I do, because obviously...
Sonic 2
I'll
special
get this out of the way right now,
again.
because I always bring this up when we're about to get into topic with this one, but I'm so fucking sick of the half-pipe special stage.
Where's my blue sphere?
How many games up to this point have used the half-pipe special stage?
On the point of blue sphere,
the special stages?
Running the assumption that we're going to see in Episode 3 at all, they're probably going to bring back blue sphere for Episode 3, which if they do, I wholly approve of using the Sonic 2 special stages in this game, because it means we're getting each of the 3 original special stages.
That's assuming we're getting an Episode 3. Right now, since they haven't announced anything, I'm assuming not.
Well, I'm assuming that since the launch trailer had a to be concluded sign at the end of it, that's almost as good.
The trailers aren't canon.
I know. I'm saying that's almost as good as having a teaser trailer.
They haven't announced it, so I'm assuming there isn't one.
I'm saying it's almost as good as having a teaser trailer.
No, it's not.
Not really,
yes, it is.
No,
but
it's not.
Not really.
Practically, officially saying there's going to be an Episode 3, you fucking idiot.
They didn't.
No. They could be referring to Episode 2 as to be concluded.
Really? That's your interpretation.
Look, Lewis. The way we're looking at it here, the trailer says to be concluded. What they're meaning is it needs to be concluded by you playing it and beating it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've done that. Plenty of games have done that.
Yeah.
That sounds like what they would say to us if they turned around after the fact and decided, you know what?
Plenty of games have done that, Lewis.
It's rabbit season.
Duck season.
All right.
Rabbit season.
Let's just drop it. And when we get that official announcement, I'm going to point in your face and laugh. I'm going to reach my hand through my headset. Yes, I'm going to reach through the internet just so that I can jab you in the eye with my index finger and say, I fucking told you so.
Hey, Ron.
All right. But about the actual special stage.
Get out of jail free card in Wario's AI and Mario Party that it doesn't happen.
About the special stages, you guys were hinting that you didn't like them from a game.
They suck.
Really?
You're very stiff.
Well, I hate the idea of bringing back the traditional theme when, we were complaining in Episode 1 about everything being a rehash. Like, Sonic 1 special stage wasn't the half-pipe, but it was still Sonic 1's. And it's like, they bring back the half-pipe. But, that being said, I liked it until Special Stage 6 and 7. That was the only parts I really hated it.
Well,
I spent an hour on Special Stage 7.
To be fair, all right? I think when we all played those 2 special stages in Sonic 2 itself, we were just as annoyed.
No. Here, I will explain why 7 sucks so much. The first third of it is just fine. It's just, rings are coming at you, get the rings and avoid the bombs. No problem. The second stage, while very picky, does the whole... You're moving up, so it's hard to see what's coming at you, but that's just level memorization. Then you get to this full circle area, they want you to use this boost feature, which they have never required you to use ever. To get
I didn't know it
these
existed
rings.
until that point.
Yeah, me too.
So they expect you to figure out something you've never used before instantly in order to get enough rings to get past that second.
And you need to get enough of those rings in that
it.
loop. Otherwise, you will
can't.
not complete the last half with enough rings.
It has like 100 rings in that pipe.
Yeah.
So
they expect you to do something you've never used before.
So poor design pacing, essentially.
Yes. And then during the third portion, they did explain, at least earlier, that occasionally there will be these special rings that if you get like 15 of them, you'll get a 20 ring or so bonus. Which
But
isn't so bad. There's usually been enough rings around them to where you don't need to be perfect with them. Here, it's only those sections, so they're asking you to be obscenely precise with Sonic 2's special stages, which you can't do.
My problem is just like they've got those sections where it's like get 8 rings and you get the 20 point
That's what
ring
That's
bonus.
what I just said.
I know, but my big problem is that there's only 8 rings. There isn't 10 or 12. There's just 8. So there's absolutely no room for error.
And you need to at least complete like 2 or 3 of them
So
to have enough to beat the stage.
There's no room for error.
one of them. You might
Error
as well
gets
just
left
restart.
out.
Yeah,
There's no room
If
for
you miss
error.
one, you might as
Excluded.
well restart.
Error
No-
is excluded. Error is left out of this game. He doesn't get a chance to play. That's not fair.
Lewis, stop.
Oh.
Just stop.
So, yeah, Special Stage 7 is just unfair.
The good thing about Sonic 4, though, it's just like Episode 1. You can push
just
start,
and
hit retry, and the
do it
special
again.
stage starts up again. Thank God.
Well, here's the thing. It's a lot easier to abuse that this time around because as soon as the
As soon as
Because
you
you
see
don't
it in
get-
sight and you don't have enough rings, you can just
Because
pause
you
for
don't
it.
get totally blindsided by the goal. There's this big stretch of yellow.
I'll tell you one thing. Though, hitting retry so many goddamn times, the beginning riff of the special stage music just like.
Yeah.
Is it any more annoying than dun 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 dun?
Well, not
Special
really,
stage
but
music.
what also annoys me about the special stages, and this actually,
Ted. 3, 2, 1.
Failure.
He's dead.
the main
He's
game
dead.
too is that all over the place you've got these little animations where, go. Okay, well, anyway, throughout the special stages, there are these little animations
Ugh, Ted. Your internet is off.
where you'll see Sonic making a jack off thing to Tails, or you'll see them like going good or whatever. What?
I'm sorry, what?
Is it really that bad? Okay, hold on. 1, 2, 3.
Go.
1, 2, 3.
Go.
4.
Okay, let me try this again. What bugs me about the special stages is that all over the place they've got these little animations where you see like Sonic and Tails like waving at each other or whatever, and it's wasting time when you just want to plow through the special stages and do them as fast as you can. It's just like, okay,
That's what
yes.
you're complaining about?
He's complaining about the little animations that play in between sections.
Yeah,
He's
but that's-
complaining about this.
all
He's
over the
he's
place.
complaining about this special stage giving you breathing time.
No, well,
Yeah,
here's
I was fine with
here's the
that.
problem. It's just there's breathing time in between because in between each section there's always like a blank spot. But it's just like seeing those animations every time, especially when you're restarting a stage 5 or 6 times. You know, you get sick of
You're
seeing
being
them.
real nitpicky here.
Want to know what I really like?
No, but my problem.
Want to know what I really like? The animation that plays when you fail. You know, Sonic turns around and gives you that "oh shucks" look on his face.
Yeah.
I
Speaking of
failed.
fun,
believe I
speaking,
screwed that up.
speaking of,
we
never
missed.
failed a special stage.
speaking,
Why would you ever
miss Tails?
Why would you ever fail a special stage?
I forgot about retry when I was on Special Stage 5.
There are times where I was playing. There are times where I was playing a special stage and I forgot exactly what the quota was supposed to be, so I end up passing the checkpoint without hitting retry.
Speaking of fun little animations, how about Tails' look-up motion?
Me and Ryan had such a fucking blast with that because,
He's
Sonic,
not looking up. He's holding his hands up. And
he's holding his hands up. I get what they were trying to do with Tails' look up motion. Like, you know how Sonic looks up and holds his hand in front of his forehead? Tails decides to do the same thing, only he's holding up both hands. But the way his head is tilted, it's like he's not looking fully up. Instead, he looks like he wants you to look at this fish that he caught that was this big.
Or he's doing the "come at me, bro."
The come at me, bro expression.
Hey, Sonic, jazz hands.
Yeah, me and John had such a laugh with that.
Oh, by the way, question: can you play as Tails in the lead role in single player, or
No,
are you?
No.
co-op.
I don't get
Ah.
that. Why wouldn't they let you have that?
Because no one likes Tails.
Because if you can't play as Sonic manually, you can't use the homing attack, which means all of those fantastic bubbles chains break the game. That's why.
Well, you can. Well, it's completely possible to jump bounce off of each of them. It's just not very
Tails
precise.
can fly.
Yeah, Tails could fly.
That too.
Oh, I guess they have no reason to take that away from you then.
It's like in Resident Evil 5, you could only play as Chris Redfield when you started the game, but after you beat it once, you could then play as Sheva if you wanted. I don't understand why, when we beat Sonic 4 Episode 2, we can now play as Tails in single player. I don't know.
On that note, completely off topic. Hey, they didn't bring back Wesker, but they sure as fuck brought back his son. Am I the only one who's
We'll
annoyed
save
by
that for
twist?
we'll save that for November.
I know, I just had to get that off my chest. All right, they didn't bring back Wesker, but now he has a son. It's like a bad fan fiction.
I'm Wesker's son. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Prepare to die.
Actually, he hates his father because his father abandoned him, which is perfectly in character, by the way. But
I
You
still,
killed my father. Can I give you a hug?
like, all right,
I'm Wesker Jr.
they
dramatic.
might as well bring back. They might as well make a Final Fantasy VII sequel where the main character is Sephiroth's long lost twin brother. Okay, I'm sorry. It's just it's
With black hair named Sephiroth.
Totally different.
actually I wouldn't be. I'm pretty damn sure I've actually read something that uses that exact concept. So
It's
yeah.
the internet. I'm sure it's been done.
How about that
Is there-
Sonic 4?
Is there anything we've missed? Anything we haven't talked about?
Yeah, red
I haven't
rings.
talked
How
about the
them red
credits,
rings?
Medley.
The Red Rings, completely fucking pointless.
There's one
Why
in
are
each,
they there?
one in each
For an
act,
achievement.
and there's one in each act. If you find it,
You get an
get
achievement. That's
get
it.
nothing. You know what? That annoys me. It's like the silver medals in Sonic 06 all over again, only not nearly as annoying.
It's why I'm not going for them. There's no point.
Whatever. It's replayability. Whatever.
But the last few times,
No, I don't agree with that.
They've
If
actually
replayability means you get something for it. You don't get anything for these, so why would you even bother?
the red rings in Sonic Colors did something. All right, they unlocked the specials, the extra stages that got you Supersonic. Okay, the red rings in Sonic Generations did something. They unlocked little extras for you to unlock. The red rings in Sonic 4 Episode 2 do nothing. They do nothing.
Look, I can understand where you're getting at, Clement. That they add replayability, but to me, they only add replayability once. Once you get the red rings, once you get all the red rings once, you never have any reason to get them ever again.
If you're mild,
The true can be said for Colors and Generations as well.
you're halfway decent at the game. You probably got the red rings on your first run through anyway.
Well,
The fact of the matter is that the red rings don't unlock any kind of in-game content or any other thing that inside the game itself is what the biggest bummer for me, because to me, I hate a collectible in a game that's sole purpose is there just for an achievement, something that's not even related to the game in itself.
User whose name I don't remember on Sonic Retro said it best. All right, achievements should not be used as a replacement for the game actually rewarding you with something.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah. So, anything left to say on episode 2?
I didn't like it. I know.
Yeah,
Really?
Final thoughts.
All right, final
Okay,
thoughts. Final thoughts. Ted, you go first since you have that massive delay.
Okay, sorry about this, the delay, first off. Second off, I didn't like it. I know you guys are probably a little bit more lenient with it than I am, but the thing is just, like, a lot of things about this game made me, like, actually angry while I played it. Like, the rehash, I didn't spoil anything, so, like, seeing Wing Fortress and Death Egg, I'm just like, ugh, more rehash. The special stages frustrated me. A lot of the level designs frustrated me. Sonic 4, for all of its problems, didn't make me this upset. And if I'm actually angry while playing a game, it's doing the opposite of what it's intended to do. So, even though there were some slight improvements, I'm going to say that I enjoyed it less than Episode 1. I did not like it.
I'm the opposite. I think it was a few steps above episode 1 only because the controls were slightly better, and the levels I do like. Just there's also a lot of crap in the way.
The levels you like, you do actually actively like, as opposed to just tolerate.
Yeah. unlike episode 1, where aside from Casino Street Act 2, the rest of the game, even when it's good, I'm just kind of meh too.
if we were to sum this up, it's like, okay, when episode 1 is bad, it's unremarkable. When episode 1 is good, it's unremarkable. When episode 2 is bad, episode 2 is bad. When episode 2 is good, episode 2 is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just prefer my thing is that I just prefer the consistency where I'd rather be bored playing a game because I could either be playing the game bored or doing my Facebook, YouTube, Twitter loop and not seeing any updates. So if I'm playing a game that frustrates me, I'm not having a good time. So
you're like Johnny's polar opposite. You'd rather be bored than actively angry, whereas Johnny here would rather be actively angry than bored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose I can understand that.
I'm still kind of on the fence about Sonic 4 Episode 2. I don't know whether I actually do like it better than Episode 1 or not. I'm like...
You need to let it sink in for a while yet.
I do. It's like, I still prefer the music of Episode 1. The boss things are really starting to get to me, where like, the first time I played it, I didn't really have a problem with it, but now it's like, I'm going to co-op matches with online people, or I'm just replaying it for like the red rings, or just because I want to replay it, because, I want to play it more than once, but it's like I'll get to, the boss in Sylvania Castle, and it still takes an eternity for the first hit to appear. And it's like, I don't like the underwater zone in whatchamacallit, White Park Act 3. The music's pretty forgettable to me. On the other hand, I love the graphics. It looks great.
It looks a lot better than Episode 1.
Oh, it looks beautiful. I do like, again, when it's good, it's really good. I love the White Park 1 and 2. I love Oil Desert 2, at least. I love Sky Fortress and stuff. It still works. It's just, I don't know. It's a downloadable game, so I'm going to give it a little bit of leeway, because
when it
cheaper.
Works, it works. But when it doesn't work, my God, does it suck.
But as a sequel, again... I don't want to be like, oh, it's not like the classics, therefore it's bad. But it's like, Sonic 4 doesn't compare to the first 3 games, so it still doesn't really blow me away or anything. It's just, it's there. It's a nice downloadable title, but I don't know. I still need time to decide whether I liked 1 or 2 better than each other. But I don't know. It was all right. It was okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, there are a lot of things that I think Episode 2 had going for it, but it's one of those things that it's actually one of those things I share with Sonic Adventure 2, is that the more I play with it, it's getting worse to me. Like graphically speaking, yeah, I will agree that it is miles better than Episode 1, and even though it's pretty clear at this point in my preference over HD sprites over the 2.5D look, this game does pull it off really well, and it really should have been what Episode 1 should look like in the first place. To me, the biggest issue here with that is Sonic the Hedgehog 4. It's supposed to be a sequel to one of my favorite games of all time, and it's completely underwhelming after Episode 2 even.
Should have stuck with Sonic's HD Adventure, shouldn't they?
I gave Episode 1 some flack because it's only the first episode. They have time to improve it. And they did slightly for Episode 2, but it's still not there.
They even took steps back, though.
Yeah, it took 1 step forward and 2 steps back. It's got 100,000 pounds sitting on its back. Up, down, all around. Don't know what to do to get through. And this game is not on its way.
All I know is that I'll never turn back.
I don't see myself going back to play this game like I do with the original titles. And again, that could be nostalgic preference. I have grown up with those games for so many years, but nothing in this game wowed me. I had a few chuckles here and there, like we mentioned the Sylvania Castle troll moment, but I don't like any of the bosses. The music is as repetitive and as forgettable as it can be, and no, I'm sorry. I'm looking forward to the next 3D game at this point.
Dude, don't apologize for your preferences.
Oh, okay.
Never apologize for your preferences, unless you're being an asshole about it.
Boo, piss, fuck you for having it. Yeah, that's all I can say. I'm just waiting for the next 3D Sonic game.
obviously my license to talk is somewhat limited by the fact that I haven't actually played more than the obnoxiously timed trial version. But I will say that at this point in time, I am leaning toward better than episode 1, but still has quite a way to go to live up to the title.
That's my opinion of it.
Mm-hmm. And what I said earlier is pretty much my overall impression. Is like when episode 1 was bad, it was meh. When episode 1 was good, it was still meh. But when episode 2 is good or bad, it's actively being good or bad. Mm-hmm. Which is both a step up and a step down. You know, I would definitely prefer a game where when it's good, but when it's boring, as opposed to when it's good, but when it's bad, it's really pissing you off, you know? And that's really all I've got to say.
Well, that was it for our Sonic 4 Episode 2 discussion. As you can tell, the Raws are up, so we'll be doing that soon. As in, probably be up next week.
In fact, you could say we might start recording it after this discussion.
In fact, you could say the special bonus, because we blew it already, is that me and John are going to be doing a live Let's Play with it.
Live co-op. After the disaster that was the first attempt, I think we should do a better job this time.
Yeah.
I'll be right back, guys. Just a second.
Should we try that with Portal 2 or just give it up as an entirely hopeless case?
How many times will I hold up my hands telling you how big that fish was?
We shall see.
Alright, so...
But it was this big. Tails, please stop talking about your Yowie collection.
Alright, so we'll see you guys all later.